Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of the Koop'd podcast. The podcast that took a 3-week hiatus because I was busy. It's the only... I apologize to my critics. And as always...
That's a really good tagline for your podcast, Koopa.
It's true. Title of my sex tape? That's a good one to start with. 3 weeks. Oh. Anyway, welcome back, folks. This is the Koop'd podcast. This is a pop culture podcast where I sit down with one or two of my friends on a given week. And we talk about all the things pop culture and what we've been watching, how we've been living our lives. And as always, I'm still Koopa, your host here. Again, I apologize for the sporadic delays in Koop'd Up proper the last couple of weeks. It's been busy. It's been a real busy time to be an esports boy, but I digress. This week, folks, we are tackling something pretty big. One of the most critically acclaimed sitcoms. I think it's fair for me to say that ended its 8-year run this past couple of weeks. I think about 3 weeks ago or whenever, almost about a month ago. But in order to do so, to talk about this show, I had to bring on two of my big old friends here and two returning guests. Although never been on the podcast at the same time, I have brought on 2/3 of the Ooh La La podcast this week. I'll start by introducing Crunchy Man himself. He is the manager of social media at Crunchyroll. You last heard him talk about Pixar movies with me on a top 5 Pixar movie podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back to the show, third time, thrice, Mr. Camalange. Cam, what's up, buddy?
I can't believe you have more than one friend.
It's true, and I got both of them here to prove it.
As always, happy to be back on Koop'd Up, just so Kyle can prove that he does, in fact, have my companionship. And I think Brooklyn Nine-Nine's a show that we all, at least Sean and I, both got into, like from the get-go, like from when it first aired. So I'm excited to talk about it since we've been watching it for, since its debut.
Yeah, I guess I should have said the name of the show. Brooklyn Nine-Nine is what we're going to be talking about today. 9-9 all day. And spoiler alert, coming also back for a third time on the podcast. Thrice guest himself. You might have remembered his sultry tones from when we talked about Space Jam: A New Legacy this past summer. Now I got you on to talk about something that's enjoyable, Sean. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back to the show, Mr. Sean Toney. Sean, how are you?
Hello, I'm good. Koopa, when does this come out?
This is coming out it's coming out on Saturday, this coming Saturday.
Cameron is the Crunchy Man in that scenario. Then.
Foreshadowing?
Maybe.
Maybe.
I'll tell you. Koopa, if you don't know, I'll tell you.
Should I just delete this and start over again?
I mean, if you want to, sure. We could give it another shot.
Are you sure?
I say we roll with it.
Let's roll with it.
I say we roll with it.
You know what? Much like a police precinct, we're not gonna hide anything.
Well said.
Brooklyn Nine-Nine. No, yeah. Hi, pleasure to be back. Thank you so much. This is definitely off to a rocky start, but we're gonna land this plane, baby.
We always do. We somehow manage to do so. And again, like I mentioned at the top,
2 3-peats. Are we officially the most appearances on the pod outside of you?
Yes, I think so, actually.
All right, my new goal is to be on the podcast more than Kyle.
Yeah. Let us host an episode. Yeah. Let us host an episode,
I'll
please.
think about it. I'll consider it. If I need a pod sitter, I'll make sure to hit you up. So.
Yeah, we'll run this over.
Yeah, those 3
we'll run this show we won't run it over with a car.
Yeah. Those 3 weeks where you weren't doing jack shit, me and Sean could have been steering the ship.
Yeah, we could have been talking about Brooklyn Nine-Nine when the finale happened.
Yeah, when it actually aired. Or we could talk about a hit YouTube series, Hit That With a Car.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot about Hit That With a Car. That's a good one.
That's an actual thing.
Yeah. Jason Steele, the creator of Charlie the Unicorn, made that.
Mm-hmm.
That's fantastic.
It's very funny. I recently watched every single episode of it with my roommate Connor, and he had never seen anything of it, and we just had a blast.
It's a good series. Yeah. Koopa, thanks for having both of us back for the first time together, and
making history.
We're really just breaking boundaries here. Not unlike a police precinct with all kinds of different sexualities, genders, and races present in it.
Yes. Oh man, that's.
Oh yeah.
There you go. We just found the intro to the podcast, folks. It's good.
There we go. That's perfect.
Yeah,
but like I mentioned at the top, both Sean and Cam are 2/3 of the Ooh La La podcast, a podcast that talks about the finer things in life. And again,
Don't mind if I do.
Don't mind if I
Yeah, say the full name. Take that again from the top.
Yeah, one more time.
The Ooh La La Don't Mind If I Do podcast.
There it
There we
is.
go.
There it is.
That's a good
And cut. All right, I think we got the episode.
That's a good episode.
Yeah,
There
all
we
right,
go.
good work,
Good movie.
everybody.
Good movie. Yeah. Listen, one day I'll find an excuse to get Jared on here at the same time. We'll just all rant about something. So.
He'll be.
Oh, he'd
Just
love
get
to.
Jared to talk about like office supplies.
Yeah.
We did a whole episode about that just to give Jared a platform to talk about it.
Yeah, ask him about pens.
Oh God, the
LaCroix.
was
LaCroix was a good one.
Yeah, LaCroix's a good thing to talk about with Jared. All That Jazz is a good thing to talk about with Jared.
Yeah.
What else is there? I mean, Disney parks. He loves Disney parks. We're just pitching. Hold on, I can recognize when I'm steering the ship into a wall, and I'm gonna back off a bit.
No, you're gonna park
Koopa,
it. You're parking it. You're parking.
I'm gonna
That's funny,
park.
though.
I'm gonna park this conversation about Jared because we're out here to talk about.
Cut to
That's true, no.
SpongeBob. You're good. You're good.
Good,
Good.
good. Yeah, big week this week. Not the
Yeah.
3 week again. Almost a month removed from the Brooklyn Nine-Nine finale, which I believe ended on September 16th. So yeah, pretty much almost about a month at the time of this recording.
No, it'll be a month to the day of the release.
That's true. It's an anniversary, a month anniversary.
There we go. You guys
Hey.
had a month to watch the entire series, and we're gonna rip it apart.
No spoilies.
No spoilies, but yeah. So we're out here to talk about Brooklyn Nine-Nine again. As we mentioned at the top, and Cam and Sean mentioned, you guys have been with this show since it started, and I recently came on to this show, and I was like, you know what? It's perfect that this show just happens to be ending around the time of my binge watch. So I was like, I couldn't have picked two better people to talk about a show that quickly moved into one of my favorite spots in my heart. So
Yeah,
I think
eat shit, Andy Samberg.
yeah. Oh man, there's some heat behind that one. I felt that in my chest.
No, he's a hero.
Yeah, I fucking
He's
love
He's a
Andy
hero.
Samberg.
Yeah, Cam and I are. Cam, I guess if you don't mind,
Yeah, should we
we can talk a bit
tip our hat
about
a little bit?
like our history. Yeah.
Yeah. So before we get into that, I want to again kind of set the premise of
Okay.
the
Yeah.
show.
Go for
so
it. Go for it.
if you again,
Do
so
your thing.
if you haven't seen this show, and granted, I can't be mad at people who haven't because I was a moron that just recently binge watched the show a few months ago.
Fucking idiot.
Yeah, it's true. I'm an idiot. I'll admit it when I'm wrong. And I'm wrong here. So that's my fault. I set the bar too low.
God.
But yeah, if you're not familiar with what Brooklyn Nine-Nine is, it is a police procedural comedy sitcom series that originally aired on Fox for its first 6 seasons and for its first 5 seasons, and then finished out its run on NBC for its last 2 seasons. It features the likes of Andy Samberg, who plays Detective Jake Peralta, a detective in the fictional Brooklyn 99th Precinct. It features an ensemble cast featuring Stephanie Beatrice, Terry Crews, Melissa Fumero, Joe Latruglio, Chelsea Peretti, and Andre Brower.
Correct.
Among again, star-studded cast of people, both in film, comedy,
Yeah.
and television. So
Yeah. So a bit of insight of like when the show came out. I think it was around like probably 2014 or so.
2013 is when it aired.
13. Okay.
Pretty
Yeah.
close,
Because I
pretty
know.
close.
Yeah, I remember we were in college when it came out,
Mhm.
and the news came out that there's going to be a new series that Michael Schur had his name attached to it of Office, Parks, and Rec fame.
Mhm.
And Andy Samberg was going to be the lead. Terry Crews was cast. Chelsea Peretti. Like a lot of like big funny names were brought in. And so Cam and I kind of just followed it from the beginning. And then for I think the best years of that show, Cam and I were actually watching it together on a weekly basis in Brooklyn when we lived together.
Mhm.
That's
Serendipitous.
Yeah, and I think also just like to tip our hat a bit, as Cam we were about to say earlier, Cam and I are very biased in the sense that we are like super duper Lonely Island hardcore fans.
Yes.
They are very, very influential to virtually everything that we do.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
even
no.
saw Pop Star together, like at the premiere, where where
Yeah,
they like
we went
Lonely
to-
Island introduced it, and we sat like vertical from Michael Bolton.
Yeah, Michael
wow.
Bolton, Seth Meyers,
Uh-huh.
Mike Birbiglia. I think Mulaney might have been
Yeah,
there.
Kyle,
but we
Kyle
were-
Mooney,
Yeah, Kyle Mooney.
who Austin missed.
That's a story for another time.
Whole other tangent.
But no, I think what was cool is when we went to that premiere, we were originally seated in like the second row. And
No,
I
it
think
was
those
the
seats
first
were actually.
row.
It was the first
We were
row.
in
I
the
think those
very-
seats were actually reserved for the Lonely Island.
That's
we were moved
amazing.
Back to like the back of this theater.
Yeah, but to much better seats because it was like
Yeah.
neck-breaking seats. And we're like, well, we can't
Yeah.
complain because it's free. And then they moved us to literally the perfect like back like middle seat.
We couldn't have had better seats.
Yeah, it was amazing.
It was great. Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, I don't think I missed a single episode like on a week-to-week basis. Like I was just actively watching every week, every season. Yeah, so I can confidently say I have seen Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Very true.
And I like it. It's a good show. It's a good show.
Yeah, we're big fans, and as Sean said, like we, you know, I think what got us into video production was, you know, creators like The Lonely Island. They're definitely one of our biggest inspirations. So we'll pretty much try anything that they do or are in. So the fact that we were like also living together at the time when it came out, we're like, well, this is our show now. Like this is what we have to do. So
yeah, I can definitely see a lot of again, as someone who also likes The Lonely Island a lot. I was a big fan. Someone who also recently watched Parks and Rec over the pandemic, having never seen it before. I'm a big fan of Michael Short products. You know, The Office, obviously one of my favorite sitcoms of all time.
Have you seen The Good Place?
I have not seen The Good Place. I've heard good things about The Good Place.
Get on that.
It's
honestly, it's his masterstroke.
Yeah.
Like, it's not even close. Like, because Michael Schur, he wasn't too involved with the actual process of Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I think he just helped use like an EP or like he might have directed the first episode. But I know there are like a lot of big names that were attached to the show. Like, I mean, most notably, I'd say Phil Lord and Chris Miller of Clone High, 21 Jump Street, Lego Movie.
They almost directed. They almost directed Solo also.
Yeah, and then
that happened. Different podcast.
Man, I was almost excited to watch a Star Wars movie, and then that went away pretty quick.
Yep.
But no, it's just there was like a huge like it was almost to the point where like it couldn't fail, and then at one point the show failed, and then NBC brought it back to life.
Yeah,
because it was weird because it was always owned by NBC Universal. Like it was an NBC Universal production, but it was just airing on Fox networks.
Right.
So it was canceled at one point. Tons of like outpouring of love, none of which was given towards another great show on Fox, The Last Man on Earth, R.I.P. Yeah. It's a great show, and it just wrapped up its last season. And I think do you mind if I just jump right into it, Koopa?
Yeah, well, let's talk about it a little bit. So
yeah, sure, let's go for it.
Yeah, so like I mentioned, the show just finished its last season. The shortest seasons. Compared to all 8 seasons. I don't know if that's mostly a COVID thing, or I'm assuming it's mostly a COVID thing, but
actually that was an NBC thing.
Really?
So originally on Fox, they were airing like 23 episode seasons. When they moved to NBC, they switched to 10 episode seasons. And the finale was actually 2 episodes back to back. So it's finale part 1, finale part 2. It comes off, I think, as 9 episodes in like the actual count because they aired it back to back.
Right.
But it is 10 episodes for the final 2 seasons. But through seasons 1 through it was an 8 season show, so 1 through 6.
Yeah.
Okay. All seasons on Fox were like 22,
I think it got
episodes.
I think it got canceled after season 5 is when it was on Fox.
And it just and like a lot of shows do that mostly to hit like syndication numbers so they can be put on other networks after the show ends its run. But also because of that, if you watch those first few seasons, like there's a ton of filler, and there's like a ton of episodes that are just kind of like. They're funny, they're good, but like they completely exist only within that episode, and like there's no consequence on the greater part of the series.
Yeah, and I think that's something that I liked about the show. Again, coming at this from a binge watcher's perspective, this is a show that has been in my radar for like a long time because I unapologetically love sitcoms. I think it's like it's one of my favorite.
You're talking to the right guys, baby.
It's one of my favorite genres of it's one of my favorite genres of television. Over the past year, it became a great source of comfort for me. It made great background noise because, for a lot of sitcoms, like you mentioned, there's a lot of non-consequential plot. You can just kind of throw an episode on, laugh in the background, and bada bing, bada boom, you're moving. I did that. I binge watched Community over the last year, which me and Cam talked about as well.
Speaking of shows that we enjoy that get canceled and have to come back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk about Yahoo Screen.
I was going to say, when Brooklyn Nine-Nine exclusively streaming on Yahoo Screens, said no one ever, but we digress. But yeah, listen, this
They'll
show
make a comeback.
I'm
pulling out still for Quibi and Yahoo Screen. I think they can come back.
I mean, Quibi's due. Quibi's due for a big one.
yeah. After that, they had a rough year. I think they deserve. They deserve a W.
Quibi's due.
They're gonna get the Seinfeld reboot if one ever exists.
Yeah. That's a lock. That's a lock.
you can mark my words right here.
I mean, speaking of sitcoms, I don't want to derail too much, but like
go ahead.
in sitcom news, like Hulu doesn't have Seinfeld anymore. Netflix got it back.
Yeah, it's a Netflix.
Yeah, they got it back.
Well, I think it was actually. So I might be wrong on this, but I believe originally it was like Sony service Crackle, which is like a free to stream website,
yes.
And they only had select episodes. I think Hulu was the first place to get the entire library.
For some reason, I thought Netflix had it at some point, but
Netflix had Friends shortly after Hulu got it.
Yeah, maybe I'm misremembering it.
But regardless, yes, Netflix now has all of Seinfeld. But don't worry, all of The Office is still on Peacock.
Thank God.
And Netflix, I think also, I read something today that they're doing a That's 90s show, like a spin-off series of That 70s show.
I think after the revelation of Danny Masterson being a rapist, they probably should step away from all things related to That 70s show. Personally,
I agree.
But hey, I saw that the actors who play Kitty and Red are signing on, and I hope it's good. I'll probably end up catching a couple episodes.
Yeah. Put temperature up and everything. I think she's great, but
she's wonderful. Yeah. Kitty is one of my favorite television moms. She's so good.
I don't watch those shows because I'm not really into period pieces.
I get that. I get that.
There's just this one joke that always stuck with me in That 70s show, and it's when I think Eric asked why the dog is on the counter, and Kitty's just like, because he likes to be tall, and I'm just like, it just resonates with me. It's so funny, but we're not talking about That 70s show. We're
not talking about That 80s show.
The failed show with Glenn Howerton, who went on to play Dennis in Always Sunny.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Oh my god!
Yeah, that 80s show was rough.
Yeah, that was some tough stuff. But yeah, listen, coming at it from a binge watcher's perspective, literally everybody and their mom has told me. You guys have probably told me at some point too. It's like, why haven't you watched the show yet? It's right up, it's right up my alley. It's right up my wheelhouse. And lo and behold, it was. Like, this made a great, right before bed show. It made me laugh harder than I've ever laughed. I'm a big fan of cutaway gags in sitcoms. Like, I think it's really funny, and this show, obviously uses that comedy trope a lot.
Big Family Guy stands here.
Yeah. Shout out to Family Guy.
This reminds me of that time I hosted a podcast.
Shout out to Brian Griffin.
Stewie Griffin.
Shout out to Glenn Quagmire.
Oh my god!
Another show that Fox canceled.
Yes.
Oh yeah, true.
And also just recently aired its last episode ever. No,
that's not true.
On Adult Swim, that's what it was.
Oh my god, Kyle!
It's called Build Up. Have you heard of it?
That was like a really. Have you seen Arrested Development?
Yes, I have.
So that's like the doctor in Arrested Development.
Yeah.
Yes.
Speaking of shows that get canceled,
by Fox.
Just gonna keep saying that.
Yes,
let's keep running through. Yeah. I think those are the big three, right? Family Guy, Arrested Development, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, as far as premature cancellations that went on to have success on other platforms, or its own platform.
Yeah, but this show is awesome. I had a great time with it. Again, if in the Mount Rushmore of my sitcoms, it's definitely moved firmly into my top 4 for sure.
Whoa.
Really?
I had a great time with it.
In your top 4.
I liked it a lot. I liked it that much.
I'm gonna go with a hot take. It's not even close to my top 4.
Really?
Yeah, it's not my top 4 either.
Yeah, I love it. I love Brooklyn Nine-Nine, but if I'm permission to jump right into it.
Yeah, let's talk about it. Let's go over spoiler warning.
Let me get Philly D on the phone for a second. Hey Philly, can we jump right into it? All right, cool. Thanks, man. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.
This is your last spoiler warning, by the way, folks. We're going to be spoiling Brooklyn Nine-Nine for you guys. So watch it. It's on Hulu. All 8 seasons are on Hulu. So go for it, John.
I'm gonna rip right into it. The last season was kind of whack.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, it was weird.
I thought
the season by far.
I thought the prior season had a really great finale that could have stood as the series finale. Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, obviously a lot of factors came into play going into this final season. Number one being the entire country's view on cops had been seriously skewed.
Yeah.
And it dealt with a lot of it forced the writers to really address the problems with cops, but while still trying to make the cops in the show seem likable and do good things. So they were already having an uphill battle.
And be
I think
funny.
They had some, and be funny. Yeah, on top of all that, and I think like they had some success. I think there's some funny stuff, but overall, I think like there was nothing in this season that needed to happen.
Yeah.
And I think the weirdest thing, and I'll stand by this. I think I've spoken to Koopa about this. I think I've spoken to you about it too, Cameron. But the weirdest thing for me was that the opening scene of this season addresses COVID and masks, and then that's it.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the season, no one's wearing a mask. It's like, well, we're all vaccinated, so. And it's like, why even include that? You could just make your show exist in a world where COVID doesn't exist. Instead, it was just like a weirdly like topical joke, and like they relied on so much topical humor this season, like out of nowhere, like. Within the past like 2 seasons, they really developed like Jake Peralta being a hardcore Nintendo fan.
Yeah.
Like it was just like, oh, he like loved playing Mario Party and hated facing Wario, and like in this season it's like, oh, my turnips in Animal Crossing, and it's just like it felt very much like what do our fans like on Twitter, and them trying to write around that.
Yeah. I mean, hey, we got a Sonic the Hedgehog joke, so
It's true.
We absolutely did.
Yeah.
One of the best.
One of the best
like
jokes.
Sonic
the
joke.
delivery on that was so funny that I was like, all right, this is good. I like this. But
Yeah.
it felt a lot of like, I'm like, did they let Nick Weiger into the writing room for this season? There's all these Wario jokes. Like, I feel like in the entirety of the show, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, they've made like 2 or 3 Wario jokes specifically.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He
it
keeps
was
talking about this
strange.
guy named Wario.
Yeah,
like-
but I want to add to Sean's point, which is I also felt that like I felt like they didn't commit to any specific direction when it comes to like trying to tackle these certain issues. Like you could obviously tell that their back was against the wall and they had to do something to try to like speak to the last year that we've had, and a lot of it was kind of just like jam packed in episode 1 with like Boyle being like the really shitty white guy that like sends you $5 over Venmo if you're black, like like it was very like referential to just like the weird shit that happened last year, and I get it, but it also like the storyline with I'm like Rosa like leaving the force and being like this isn't like you can't fix it from within, and then Jay kind of being like I think you can. Like it's an interesting idea, but they never like fully realized that idea, because by the end Rosa's still kind of doing her own thing, and Jake like ends up leaving the force like entirely for like reasons completely unrelated to any political justice, and it's kind of like
it's outside of the first 2 episodes, like they never really reckon with that fact, aside from creating the police union lawyer played by John C. McGinley, known as Dr. Cox on Scrubs.
Yes.
Awesome performance.
I thought he was
one of my favorite parts of the season.
good addition.
He was very fun to watch,
Yeah.
but like ultimately it's like they made that like be like, well, the bad cops are represented by him, but it's like still a systemic. And again, apologies if you were trying to get into this to talk about sitcoms. This is inherently attached to a very political issue, and something that we need to address if we're going to be talking.
I don't think you can talk about the season without talking.
It's impossible
about it,
otherwise, especially this season.
Yeah.
Especially this season.
Yeah, the finale.
And this show's never been afraid to like talk about those like serious issues. Like there's an
And they've done it really well in the past. Like
the Terry
Yeah, that's
episode
what I
where
was
he gets stopped by another cop.
Yeah. Like that was a really powerful episode. And then, Rosa's storyline of her coming out as bisexual to her parents was another, like, I thought that was very, like, and that worked because they kind of handled it over multiple seasons instead of trying to like shove it in last second. Whereas, like with this season, they only have 8, 9, 10 episodes. It's 10 episodes, but felt like 9. And they tried to shove like these really dense, big issues into a storyline that is like trying to also conclude the entirety of the series. So it's just like it's too much to try to sandwich in with that short of a time.
Yeah, no, I agree. I definitely felt a lot of that, because I noticed a lot in those later seasons, like you mentioned, they definitely tend to harp on a lot more of the more topical like conversation points. There's a lot more like topical pop culture jokes, like you said. Like I don't remember exactly at what point they decided to make Jake a gamer. But they definitely like harp on like there's just a handful of like random pop culture references like thrown out those like last few seasons. But I agree, like and I don't know where your guys' take is on like people doing COVID plot lines while we're still kind of in the midst of this pandemic.
It fucking sucks.
It's weird. It's very strange.
No, because speaking of Michael Schur projects, Parks and Recreation did that COVID special last year, and I hated it.
Oh, it's so lame.
It sucked so much, because it's like, I understand it's like them trying to be like, oh look, it's like a PSA kind of, but it's like from these familiar characters. Because 30 Rock did one as well, but 30 Rock was like a lot better done. And with the Parks and Rec one, I just like the thing that stands out to me the most is like Leslie asking Ron, like, Ron, are you practicing social distancing? And it's like, it just sucked. Like, I don't know. I think like a lot of people use sitcoms specifically as an escape. And like, the thing is, inherently, life during COVID is boring.
Yes.
And it's not fun. And the conflict is entirely internal. Not to say like, unless you want to have like a fucking episode about like, oh, we're stuck living together indoors and like, now we are fighting more. Like that's something. But like, I don't know. I felt like, yeah, that's really it. It would be a season of bottle episodes. And like, they didn't even address like what life was like during lockdown. And like, they still decided to acknowledge COVID, which again, I just feel like that felt like a gigantic misstep.
Yeah.
Like the opening scene of the season had so many missteps for me where it's like, well, we're all vaccinated. The masks are gone. And then also like in that scene is when they announced like Rosa's leaving. And I understand like Rosa is a lone wolf. She'll go on to do what she wants to do. But man, wouldn't it have been like fun to write like and show her struggle and like show her like coping with the fact that she is a part of an evil force?
Yeah, and they tried
even if they're like all fun and good.
Yeah.
Like, and it's just still like, I don't know. It just felt the show went out with a whimper. I felt like,
yeah, compared to series finales, this definitely felt like one of the weaker ones. And again, they definitely tried to hit like all the points of Brooklyn Nine-Nine. It tries to force, put a heist episode in there. They give you a Doug Judy episode in there as well, which was
I'll go on record. The Doug Judy episode was awesome, and I feel like they actually wrapped up his character really well.
Doug Judy episode is probably the best one.
Yeah, I think like because they also managed to bring back Nicole Byer. God bless her. Pay Nicole Byer more money.
She is fantastic.
She is consistently like one of the funniest people on TV. And like, yeah, I thought the Doug Judy thing, like, yeah, he runs off to Europe to like, and like Jake kind of helps him out, and like that's cool. Like that kind of felt like the show could end here.
Yeah,
but it kept going because they had to get a heist episode in, and it was also like
the heist is the paintball episode of
of Brooklyn Nine-Nine. One spot on the money.
Yeah,
way to go.
That's exactly what I thought of when I got to. I was watching a show with my girlfriend for the past like few months, and we get to the first heist episode. And I'm like, this is hilarious. And then I notice in the episode sheet for episode 2, it says Halloween 2, and I'm like, oh, this is just the paintball gimmick from Community. They're just doing it with Halloween heists. And it's funny. It's like the problem, because I didn't like all of the paintball things that they did with Community.
They got, after season 2, it got way too worn out.
Yeah. But I outside of this last one being a real downer, I truly enjoyed all of the Halloween heist episodes.
No, the heists were a fun break of pace, but it was ultimately a crutch that they leaned on.
Yeah.
Yes.
They got way too convoluted way too quickly.
Yeah, because the last heist, they had to be like, how do we make this like the most intricate one? Because it's the last season.
Yeah.
And I felt like it actually just kind of like was too convoluted. It like to the point of being like, this isn't really believable to me. I'm just kind of like accepting the, like, my suspension of disbelief was all over the place when I was watching that. Like, it's fun, but it's a little too removed, I think, from everything. And I don't know.
Yeah.
It was a lot.
Go ahead.
I didn't hate it, but yeah, it was just a lot.
No, again, I don't think it's like a bad season per se.
Yeah.
But I think it's undeniably the worst season of the show. Like it just kind of ends, and I feel like there's a lot of stuff like in this season they also revealed that Boyle isn't biologically a Boyle, and that also he has like a murderer in his family.
Yes.
And it's like that just felt like so much like the show had jumped the shark at that point. I think honestly continuing on past the Jake and Amy wedding was jumping the shark. The opening scene of the season was them jumping the shark. It was the point of no return.
Yeah, it's also like kind of funny, like mentioning the Jake and Amy wedding, because like that was kind of like it worked as an ending for that. That was season 7, right? Or was it season?
Yeah, they thought that they were writing it with the option of it being the actual ending of the series.
So with that in mind, like the storyline with like Raymond Holt and Kevin like having to like renew their vows and shit, like it felt so just like, okay, we're doing a season finale. We got to have another wedding. Everyone's having kids and getting married. I'm like, this is such like sitcom like dribble. Like it's.
Yeah. I was actively cheering for Holt and Kevin not to.
I know, right? Just because it'd be more.
I was like, it would be way more interesting, and it's a way more realistic look at life.
Yeah.
Like it's. I mean, Cam and I both had to deal with some heartbreak over the past couple of years, and like, yeah, it's true. Especially during COVID, that stuff comes up, and like. I think it would have made like, because also like I love the actor that plays Kevin. His name escapes me right now.
Oh yeah, he's so good.
He's
Mark
in, like,
Evan
every
Jackson.
Mark Evan
Yeah,
Jackson.
he's
in,
also
like,
in The
every
Good
single,
Place.
He's
Yes.
incredible. He also hosts the Good Place podcast.
Nice.
Wonderful podcast. But no, he's great. And I was like, Kevin was ultimately a punchline of a character, and like having him like have his things developed, I was like, no, let's just like accept that sometimes relationships don't work out. And like that would have been so much more interesting, and I feel like it would have made like Holt and Kevin's relationship more interesting. It would have made Holt a more interesting character. Like, how is he performing going through heartbreak when he's such like a robot to other people?
Mhm.
Yeah, and I feel like because even my girlfriend and I like gasped out loud at the end of that first episode of season 8, where Captain Holt confides in Amy about what happens, and he even says himself, it's like, it's been a hard year to be a black man and a cop and a human. And I feel like them trying to like, do the whole Parent Trap, get them back together sort of thing really kind of dilutes that whole topic point of like,
Yes.
this added some character flavor. And like, yes, I guess, I don't know, maybe they thought it sort of pays off because up until this point, or at least from my memory, you don't actually see like Kevin and Holt act like a couple. Like, you don't see them like kiss or anything on screen, and then they kiss each other, in the rain and all dramatic and stuff. So I don't know if that's the angle they were trying to go for. I'm not super sure, but I think that whole plot line felt very forced. Like you said, it felt very like sitcom dribble.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Also, like every joke with Cheddar being the punchline of bitch is like, that sucks. I'm sorry. That joke is so tired.
Cheddar's great though.
Cheddar's a very beautiful dog, but it's like every punchline with Cheddar I like saw coming from a mile away.
Oh yeah. Cheddar just being like borderline sentient being, it's like, we get it. It's funny the first time.
They stole our fluffy boy. Like, I did enjoy seeing him in a bow tie. Something about dogs in a bow tie is very funny, but I agree. I think
he's handsome. We're not taking that away from him.
No, he's a very look, Koopa. I will never say anything bad about Cheddar's appearance. Like, very beautiful dog, incredible coat, great shine. I just think that the jokes surrounding Cheddar are pretty tired.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I don't know. Because I think also like the thing that also bothered me this season is like the whole Hitchcock and Scully thing. Like,
so that was weird. Yeah,
that I was hoping that it would be a thing of like, oh, like the actor that plays Hitchcock is like actually like not able to be on set, so they do like a weird like.
Oh, really?
Like iPad Zoom thing? I don't know. I'm guessing here because it's like...
I assumed it was from, like, maybe he was like, I don't want to be on the show if I have to be on set because of, like, COVID, maybe. Like, maybe he was just, like, very cautious about it. And they're like, well, all right, we'll just put you on the iPad. Like, that's...
But, like, Hitchcock and Scully only work together.
Yeah.
And, like, when one of them is not physically there, it's just, like, it's constantly, like, you can't... It's the elephant in the room. You can't look away.
Yeah. It felt very, like, oh, okay, they had to write something out. Like, they had to figure this out in the writing room to keep him in the show somehow. But I guess, like, speaking on that note, in terms of appearances, I think that's something we should talk about is, Chelsea Peretti.
Yeah, always good to see her back on an episode. She's always so funny too.
Yeah,
she's great.
It was nice to see her, back with the force, not with the force, but back with the gang and just hanging out. That was a lot of fun. Like that was the best. Like even though I didn't love the heist episode, I was really happy to see Gina.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think also she's like the one character that they can kind of escape suspension of disbelief with because it's just like, yeah, sure, she might have access to a tank. Like I never doubt anything that Gina does because they wrote that character so over the top over the years. So.
Yeah, I agree. That was a lot of fun. Another surprise reveal. Like, I just want all of Gina's
the shirt just kept changing. Yeah.
It was so funny. Gina Linetti was one of my favorite parts about the show for a long stretch of time. She's truly a treat to watch every time she's on the screen. Like, it's so funny.
I think the thing that I was balancing in the beginning of watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine was picking my favorite character between Charles Boyle and Raymond Holt. And it became very clear after like season 2 or 3 that like Raymond Holt is the best character in that show.
Yes.
Oh yeah, he's great.
Holt is so funny, and like Andre Bauer is so good. Yeah. His comedic timing is so choice, and they nailed every single thing that he did, I think.
Yeah, no, he's so funny. It like a lot of like Holt's one-liners are hilarious. Him being so robotic just works so perfectly. Like anytime he said Bing Pot, it just made me laugh uncontrollably. It's just so stupid and so funny. Like,
I really loved him referring to a title belt as a championship cummerbund.
Yes.
That's very funny. I mean, also there were like so many incredible guest stars on Brooklyn Nine-Nine over the years. We're gonna kind of look at like the show as a whole.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you guys. This show is littered with great guest stars, and again, one of my favorite parts of this last season was, like you mentioned, Dr. Cox being a major,
John C. McKinley.
Yeah, John C. McKinley being the guest star of this last season. Are there any other ones that stand out to you guys of like favorite ones?
Yeah, I think 3 come to mind right now, and I'm sure some of them will overlap with Cameron's picks. Number 1 being Adam Sandler playing himself.
Yes.
That was really fun because I just like seeing Adam Sandler in anything. But that one also, I think that episode aired after the Super Bowl, so there was like, we're going to bring in a big star and like bring in big athletes to get like big ratings, and it worked. Another one, I got to give a shout out to one of my favorite podcasters in the world, Mike the Spoon Man Mitchell, for playing in one singular episode. He played like a fail son of a mob family.
Yes.
And he was so funny in it. Love him. And then also Kira Sedgwick as Madeline Wunsch, one of the best recurring characters in that series. And like her rapport with Raymond was so funny. And Kira Sedgwick, another one, they take like these serious actors and let them play these goofy roles. And that's great. And then obviously I think like an unspoken like acceptance for guest stars has to be like Jason Mantzoukas. Like,
oh my god,
he's so funny.
Just playing the most Mantzoukas role possible.
Yeah. There's a lot of good ones. I mean, I got to talk about Kira Sedgwick because when I was in,
you have a weird connection to Kira Sedgwick.
I do.
Oh, yeah. Go on.
So back in college, Jared and I had an acting class, and we had this amazing teacher, Rob Sedgwick. And he was like a super cool dude, excellent teacher, love that guy. And as you can guess by his name, he actually is like his sister's Kira Sedgwick.
That's amazing.
So we all kept egging him on, jokingly, being like, can you get like Kevin Bacon or Kira Sedgwick to show up to the class and teach us? And he's like, I'll see what I can do. So he was able to convince Kira Sedgwick to come to class. Then me and Jared had to perform in front of Kira Sedgwick in class.
Wow.
So that's a memory that I will have like for the rest of my life. She was very nice. She gave like, obviously gave great feedback, was very like, she was very kind in her feedback. And it was such a weird experience. Like, I'm like a mediocre actor at best, and I am performing in front of fucking Kira Sedgwick. So it's just cool to see her and stuff now, because I'm like, I met her, I talked to her, she watched me make an ass of myself.
That is so cool.
Yeah, that was wild. And then Sean and I are big fans of the Doughboys, so we love Mike Mitchell. So just seeing him like show up in anything is always a great time. I'm trying to think if there's anyone outside of those that like really stood out to me.
Do you remember Paul Rust's role in the show?
Oh man,
Paul Rust of the band Don't Stop or We'll Die, known mostly for his role as Gus in Love, the show that he created. Yeah. He played, and this is going to lead to me and Cameron's favorite joke throughout all of Brooklyn Nine-Nine. He played a bandmate of Jake's when they were in a ska band in high school.
Oh, that's right.
I'll never turn my back on ska. Hup. When that joke.
Oh man, I wish we had Austin on the call just to bring him in to talk about this specific joke.
Yeah, because another piece of Sean and I's history is that we're both huge ska fans. So we love Andy Samberg, Lonely Island. We love ska. So to see Andy Samberg dressed full on Rude Boy saying, "I love ska.
Ska defines who I am as a person.
Ska defines who I am as a person. I'll never turn my back on ska." Hup, and then just start skanking. Sean and I had to pause the episode because we were dying.
It was like a solid 3 minutes of us laughing and Austin just being like, "I bet this is funny to them." Like, he just did not appreciate it.
No, he did not.
I think the only other joke that made me like pause the show to like catch my air was when Hitchcock revealed his tattoo.
Oh yes, that was a good one.
Do you remember this, Koopa?
It's like,
I do.
He pulls up his arm sleeve and it's just a tattoo of him shooting himself in the mouth with a gun.
Yes. It's so funny.
It's so graphic and like it's such a quick reveal.
That is so funny. The one joke that like really like got to me like that hard was the cigar joke was obviously very funny. Like even having seen like the meme circulated around a lot, it still made me laugh when I saw it. I like the I think the gag with Zoe Deschanel where it's just like, oh, like it's like name one lot. It's like,
Yeah.
the crossover episode with New
I was
Girl.
going to mention that as it wasn't one of my favorite appearances, but I was going to mention that it happened. So
yeah, I just thought that joke was funny. It's like, oh, that's me. I set the bar too low. Like, I just thought that was funny. I like the cold open where Jake has the police lineup and he makes the guys sing the Backstreet Boys.
Oh yeah.
Like,
I mean that's like an all timer. But again, another thing with season 8 was they like called back to that moment. And I was like, all right, we know it was funny.
Yeah, you don't have to explain it to us. But as for guest stars, I mean, kind of avoiding like the obvious ones, like Craig Robinson is so funny.
Pontiac Bandit.
I was like, does he even count as like as because he's
a recurring character,
like,
so it's
he's a recurring. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but absolutely, Craig Robinson's hilarious. Like that character is just so good, and I'm glad that, as we said before, that he got like a proper send off. That was probably the best episode that season.
Yeah, I think if I had to pick one that I really liked, Sterling K. Brown in that one episode of the interrogation.
Oh, that episode's
was fantastic.
Incredible.
That might have been one of my favorite episodes.
That's the one where it's like a bottle episode of Holt and Peralta trying to break this one guy who committed murder in like a dentist's office.
Oh yes, that's right.
That episode is wonderful.
I think that episode won an Emmy.
Again, that's got to like. I hope so. But no, I mean I don't know the awards that they've racked in over the years, but I genuinely like that episode is so fun to watch, and it's just like such a. I think that's something that like I've heard Mike Schur I think speak about this, and a good reference to this is The Office. It's always fun to watch characters do what they're really good at.
Yes.
So like when you watch The Office and you see like Michael do incredible at sales, it's like, oh yeah, you remember why he has this job. And like that episode is nothing but like Peralta showing like I am an incredible detective and I can like get this guy no matter what.
Okay, I need to drop one more appearance. We could do this all day, but there's one more we got to talk about. Yorma Tacone is like he works at the fucking arcade when they have to like hide out in Florida.
Oh yeah, when they're witness protection.
Yeah.
Oh, the Florida episodes were very fun,
those are really good. I liked that storyline. I thought it was resolved a little too quickly because I kind of was like, I like this. This is a funny. Like I could explore this a little bit longer, but it was good.
Witness protection is a really cool like way to handle that. And that was like a good like season gap.
Yeah.
I believe Akiva was in an episode or two as well too.
Akiva Schaffer, yes.
Yeah, I think he was, but I can't remember like what the role would have been.
He was in the same season as Sterling K. Brown, if I remember.
He was Brett Booth. And Brett Booth, of course, is the head of the NYPD task force detective at the 63rd precinct.
Oh, of course.
I think didn't Patton Oswalt play a firefighter in that show? Also, I thought Patton Oswalt was good.
Yeah,
I think Nick Kroll played a firefighter later on as well.
No, he was he wasn't a firefighter, but he was like an FBI agent or something.
Was like,
oh, that's what it was.
Yeah, because I feel like he was there for whenever there was like a bomb that they had to like try to disarm or something.
Right. There was also like they did a couple episodes where it was like that like pseudo like hostage situation.
Yeah.
Oh,
so they kind of had like 2 paintball episodes going for a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, also, one of my favorite ones is Reginald Vell Johnson playing himself. I thought that was very funny. Can I go home now? No, Reginald, we all need a ride home.
Yeah, no, honestly, there were so many guest stars in that show, and so many also like very, very funny comedians worked on the show. Like Neil Campbell, I think ended up becoming like an executive producer. Carl Tart wrote several episodes. One of the funniest people I know of.
Carl Tart's amazing.
Just like honestly, like so many talented writers on that show. And got to do some really great directing. I know the once writers of the Sonic the Hedgehog movie, Evan Susser and Van Robichaux, ended up becoming producers on that show as well because they directed and wrote a bunch of episodes, or at least wrote a bunch of episodes. So the talent's there, and I think ultimately Brooklyn Nine-Nine is worth a watch. Just know what you're getting into with the final season.
Yeah, because
that's how I would summarize the show as a whole.
Yeah,
and also keep in mind that as you're watching it, the general opinion on the police force has changed drastically over the past year, and the show has been going on for nearly 10 years.
Yeah. But I think like I know we talked about like if we're talking about like our Mount Rushmore sitcoms, like I think Brooklyn Nine-Nine like does have a special place in my heart. I like the show a lot. I don't think it has the same level of impact necessarily as maybe other shows that I would probably put up there. But it's a fun watch. It's really funny. It's like really talented cast and crew, so I'd recommend it. I remember even prior to like this last year where shit was particularly bad. I've had I don't know if I want to use the word arguments, but I've had discussions with people where they were like, "Oh, Brooklyn Nine-Nine's bad because it basically makes you sympathize with cops," and I was like, "I get that, but I think that like the show does a lot of things to try to comment on the problems. Like again, like the Terry Crews episode we talked about, I thought was like a really meaningful way to address like, oh, like there are like systemic problems and racism, that still exist that cops enforce." So I think the show like did try to use like what it had to comment on it the best they could, but at the end of the day, like it is a comedy about cops, so you kind of have to like you do have to swallow that pill a little bit to enjoy it. And like it's kind of like I think I saw some reviews online before that kind of put it aptly. It's like I can still enjoy Brooklyn Nine-Nine as like a fantasy. Imagine a world where cops try to do the right thing. Like that's what Brooklyn Nine-Nine is. And if you can just like, it's easy for me to say that as like a white person, but I do think it like does try to do good with what it has, and I think it's probably for the best that the show ends now. So that's probably the only other thing I would really add to the show. But overall, like even with this last season not being stellar, like it's still fun. Like there's a lot of solid jokes, and I think like it makes up for it. Like it's a show where like talking about some of the other shows we talked about previously, like Community is a show that probably like for better or for worse is one of my all-time favorites just because of what it means to me. But that is like one of the rockiest shows you'll ever watch. Like the ups and downs are so extreme.
It's peaks and valleys throughout the entire series. I think like once you get to season 3, it's when you start seeing the valleys.
Yeah. But Brooklyn Nine-Nine is like, for me, it's like a show where it's the opposite, where it's like consistent.
It's a steady show.
It's a consistently, steadily good show, but it never quite hits the peaks of other shows. But it's still a great time.
Because I'm thinking of my top 4, like my Mount Rushmore of sitcoms. I know at the very least, like my number 1, my George Washington is King of the Hill.
Oh yeah.
That's my number 1 sitcom. I think it's the greatest American sitcom. I'm gonna take a little bit to think of the other ones because
there's just so many.
It's kind of hard to lock one in until the series ends.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because I think another show that I think is similar as far as like peaks and valleys, like Community, is Always Sunny.
I was just gonna say that.
Like Always Sunny has like really gotten into some valleys in the past couple seasons, but I think also like at its strongest, like no one can touch Sunny. On its best episode, no one can touch Sunny.
Yeah.
I think I don't know. It's tough. I think Brooklyn Nine-Nine's good. I think if you're like trying to watch something of a similar style of humor, because I think something that's interesting with Brooklyn Nine-Nine compared to like The Office or Parks and Rec, which I think inherently they're going to be compared to, or other NBC sitcoms. Brooklyn Nine-Nine is a fast show comedically.
Yes.
Like characters talk fast, they hit the jokes fast, so it's kind of a similar style of humor as 30 Rock, but it's never necessarily like it's two very distinct shows. I think if you want to, again, it's not a show that you're going to get like deeply invested in with a character. I mean, you'll care about the characters. You're not like, there's no crazy thing of like, what is the end game of this show? Like it's very clearly like an episode to episode kind of show, like a classic sitcom, as opposed to like, say, like the last season of The Office, where it's like, it has to come to an end, or like The Good Place, where the entire series has an end game in mind.
Which is so rare, by the way.
I can't, honestly, if you've made it this far and you're thinking of another recommendation, watch The Good Place. It's very, very good.
Yeah, not to go on too much of a tangent, but like that's like one of the problems I have with a lot of American TV is that there's like no end game. It's all about like how long can we run this show into the ground for? And it's like, I don't know, it sucks because a lot of shows start really great and then they just like either never end because they get canceled, or they like can't end because it makes too much money. So to have a show like The Good Place exist is like awesome because it's like
get in, get out. Yeah. I actually think there are 2 shows currently airing, 2 sitcoms. Well, I guess one is not currently airing as of this past Friday, but 2 sitcoms I've been super enjoying recently. One that I think is the best ensemble comedy going right now is What We Do in the Shadows.
So good.
Oh, it's amazing.
I cannot recommend it enough. Season 3 has been very fun. It's a different writing staff, so there's a bit of a different feel to it, but I'm still enjoying it. And another show based off what you just said, Cameron, and if you need help, I will send you my login for the streaming service.
Oh, yeah.
I cannot recommend Ted Lasso enough. Ted Lasso is a show that you'll hear a lot about. A lot of people have opinions on it being like disgustingly optimistic, but something I know is that they have an end game in mind. I think they're trying to go for 4 or 5 seasons max. Like they know what they're getting into. They have a clear end game for what the show is going to finish with. Brought on by Bill Lawrence of Scrubs creator, but that's another sitcom right now that I cannot recommend enough to people. It's just a very, very easy, fun watch, and it's emotional. Don't get me wrong; I've cried several times watching Ted Lasso, but it's also the jokes in it make me laugh so much.
Yeah, no, that I definitely resonate with a lot of that stuff, and I think I should eventually get on The Good Place. I've tried. It's one of those things where like I have.
Do you
go ahead?
Spoiler warning for The Good Place potentially. Koopa, do you know like what happens in The Good Place?
I've heard like rumblings of what might happen.
Finish season 1.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Finish season 1 of The Good Place and tell me.
Everybody keeps telling me about something that happens in The Good Place.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so you don't know then? Finish season 1.
Here's what I'll say too. If you need any more of a sell, like I love this is becoming the Good Place episode, but
bring us back for that then.
Yeah.
Jared had watched like the first couple or few episodes or something, and he was like kind of like fell off and didn't stick with it. And then I was like, no, dude, you should just like at least finish season 1. And I was visiting him, so we watched it together. And we just kept watching episodes, and we ended up watching all of season 1 together. And he was like, "All right," like he got it. And then I think within like a few days, he had watched like the entirety of The Good Place. Like, yeah, that was a good show.
Yeah, I did the same thing with Cameron, or I did the same thing with Graham and Mike, where I was like, just sit down, watch this with me, and you know what I'm like the moment.
Oh yeah.
Watching people's reactions to that is so good. So I think it's also like what 3 or 4 seasons.
It's 4 seasons. It's 4 seasons.
That's right.
It's very easy to go through. At the very least, just commit to the first season.
Yeah.
If that point, if you're not into the show, walk away.
Yeah.
But if you enjoy it, just finish it out because I think it has a really, really good ending.
I think one of the most satisfying like season finales.
Yeah.
And also like even like talk like and then also like cliffhangers. Like season 1 is like it ends in a way where you're like, I have to watch season 2 right now. Like it's so good.
Yeah. It's very binge friendly.
Yeah.
But again, Mike Schur directed that. It's his baby. A lot of really talented writers on that. Incredible performances. Definitely some overlap with other actors within the Schur universe. Like Jason Mantzoukas, I think appears in like every single series that he works on.
Mantzoukas is there. And we already talked about how what's his name? The guy who plays Kevin. I'm forgetting his name already.
Mark Evan Jackson.
He's in it. So there's a lot of that.
I won't reveal to you, Koopa, what role Jason Mantzoukas plays in this series, but it is unlike any other role he's played in a very fun manner.
Okay, that's interesting to me. Yeah. I'm into it because I've always liked Kristen Bell as an actress. I think she's awesome.
So good.
I'm a huge fan. I'll get on it. The thing about me is like as much as I love sitcoms, I don't like to like burn myself out with them too much, like with any sort of genre of show.
Yeah.
So I watched. So for example, just using it as an example over the past year, after I binge watched The Sopranos, which is again pretty heavy, dramatic series. I immediately watched Community, which is the breath of fresh air that I needed.
Yeah.
So I think
I'll say one other caveat for The Good Place. It's not one that you can just put on in the background.
No,
like, you gotta give it your full attention.
Yeah, if it's a show I've never seen before, I'm gonna watch it like all the way through. There's a lot of
give it your full attention.
Yeah. But again, going back to go ahead.
And when you watch it, please message me and Cameron when you get to the moment.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
got you.
And again, you'll know it when it happens.
Okay, so I got you. I will get to it this weekend for sure when I'm on the road. But listen. So again, I did like what you guys said about the consistency of Brooklyn Nine-Nine, because that's actually something I said to myself as I'm watching the show, because like you mentioned, like, with all good shows, like you said, they're either too good to finish or they just get like driven into the ground where it just becomes like too much. But I thought for Community falls off a hill after the 3rd season. A lot of shows eventually, jump the shark to where it just doesn't become that good anymore. And I never, up until this most recent season, I didn't really feel that way with Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Like you said, it's a great for average hitter because all the seasons, for the most part, are really good.
It's a steady show. I think if anything, the show gets a little repetitive, but any sitcom that lasts close to 10 seasons is going to hit that.
Yeah.
So I think, it's definitely worth your time. It's I think just a steady show. Like, it's one that, like, you know what you're getting into each episode. Like, there's no like really big crazy plot twist. The characters are fun. The jokes hit, and it's a unique approach. I think, like, as far as like the repetitiveness goes, I think it's more so just like you get to a point where it's like, okay, it's time to hit Act 3, and Jake is about to figure out the solution to this problem.
Yeah.
And it's like, I figured out who did it, and it's something that we could not have known as an audience member. And it's like, sure, whatever, but like, no, Brooklyn Nine-Nine's worth your time. Ultimately, I would be remiss if you don't enjoy it. It's like, I don't know. I think it's a very good like middle of the road sitcom.
Yeah, and again, in the pantheon of my sitcoms, like it's definitely 4 out of 4. Again, I just think like the comedy that the show provided for me was solid. I think Community's definitely like up there on my Mount Rushmore. I've watched a lot of Boy Meets World. That's like I've seen all of Boy Meets World twice. That's one of my favorite shows of all time, and it's hard to pick another one because it'd probably be The Office just because The Office is just great. Like,
The Office is a great show.
The Office is in mine. It's just like it's The Office. It's got to be there.
Yeah, you're either gonna love it or you're gonna hate it, and I love it.
Yeah.
So
Can we include SpongeBob in sitcoms? I feel like that counts.
I'll give it to you just for the sake of it, but I don't want to get it's too late in the podcast for me to argue semantics right now.
Yeah, it's a hot dog a sandwich type situation. It's
well, I mean, King of the Hill is a sitcom. I think.
Yeah, I think it's just that it comes down to the half-hour format.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. I don't know. That's subjective because also like by that account, then that doesn't include Joe Parra Talks With You, and I think that's an incredible sitcom as well. Mm-hmm. So short form sitcom, I'll give it to you. SpongeBob counts.
Yeah.
Comedy arises from the situation.
Yeah.
So and there's continuity between episodes.
So in your guys' opinion, what is the best season of Brooklyn Nine-Nine? Is there one that stands out to you guys as the best?
No idea.
I couldn't tell you which season. What happens in which season? I'm sorry. You should have given us a heads up on that question.
I've watched every episode, but it was like as they came out. So like I've never done like a rewatch. I have no fucking clue. What
was the Miami season?
I think that was season 4, season 5.
That one was really good.
I'll pick that one.
Yeah,
that's season 4. That's a good
all right, great. We love season 4.
There's a better question. I know we talked about it in the episodes we like. Are there any episodes that you like that we didn't talk about yet?
Well, that's a good question. Let's think on this for a second.
Right, let's have can we get 5 minutes of dead air while we think about it?
Yeah, I'll fill the dead air.
I'll set the time.
I'm looking up. I'm googling best Brooklyn Nine-Nine episodes.
Let's see what BuzzFeed
the one where Jake Peralta messes up and then fixes it. I like that one a lot.
You know which one? I like the episode where Jake and Amy do a stakeout together for the first time, and they kind of realize their feelings for each other.
That's fun. I do like the the story arc of Jake and Amy. I did enjoy that a lot. Going from friendly rivals to, you start to realize you might have a crush on this person into, the whole, I'm a sap for a good wedding episode. I cry every time, man. It's so funny.
Boring.
Yeah. Oh, I thought of another recurring character that I really loved. Ken Marino in this show, where he plays that stupid lieutenant who replaces Hulk.
Yes.
Who just consistently messes things up. Ken Marino is so good. He's really good in The Other Two, another sitcom I've been watching recently that I recommend. HBO Max.
Okay, I'll put it on the list of sitcoms. That's a good one.
I think any Craig Robinson episode, those are all great. I love every episode of those. I feel like I like the Thanksgiving episode. I feel like I remember that one being really good.
They did a good Thanksgiving series. Yeah,
a lot of those are with Jake's parents and all that stuff. I thought that was a lot of fun.
Anyone that involves the entire cast, usually season finales, the entire crew coming together to solve this one crime. There are several episodes that are just diehard love letters, but I think them seeing Nakatomi Plaza for the first time is very funny.
That's a good episode. I'm a fan of the of one of the Thanksgiving episodes because the C plot is Pimento and Holt trying to find Pimento's bookie to get money back that he lost on a I think it was a sports bet, and then they end up betting end up in the bar betting on the dog race. It's just, it's so funny.
Everyone talks about the Halloween episodes, but I think the Thanksgiving episodes are actually really good. I like those.
I remember it plays a lot into the family drama, but the whole relationship between Jake and his father.
Yeah,
and seeing that play out and seeing how clearly he's in need of a father figure because you meet his dad and you're like, oh, that all checks out. I get it now.
Another episode I just remember that I really enjoyed was.
I wonder if it's the same one I was going to mention.
It's when they throw Boyle a birthday party, but it's Terry, Jake, and Raymond, and they but all the things Boyle wants to do are lame and stupid. So they're like, we should have like a good time before we go like celebrate with Boyle.
Oh, yeah.
So they all like get steaks and stuff together, and then they get like way too drunk, and then they like almost forget to show up. So like, because Boyle set out like all these.
Oh, that's
fun,
the bachelor party episode. Right?
That's bachelor party. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Yes, not birthday party. Bachelor
That's
party.
the one with Reginald Vell Johnson.
Yeah, so he has like all the like clues and stuff, and they just ignore it and go straight to the ship, and they're like, "Oh, hand me the coin that you found." And they're like, yes." Like I love
you got
that.
the coin,
It's
right?
so
Yeah.
funny. It's so good.
The one I was thinking of is it's like an early episode at the beach house where the entire
Yes,
the entire squad goes on vacation with the idea of getting away from Holt, but Holt tags along, and it's just very, very funny. It's also like where you kind of see like the Jake and Holt relationship blossom.
Yeah, and any sort of like in gags with like Holt, like referencing this like obscure jazz musician as a famous person, like those always just got like a good laugh out of me. The Beach House one is fun.
Yeah.
There's just so many good episodes in the show. I think my favorite still has to be the one with Sterling K. Brown. That one was
I mean, that's probably one of the best episodes for sure.
Oh, J.K. Simmons had a really good guest spot.
Yes.
Oh yeah, he's great, man. Put J.K. Simmons in
Love
everything.
J.K. Simmons.
Love Palm Springs.
Yeah, watch Palm Springs. I was just about to say that. Watch Palm Springs for some good J.K. Simmons, Andy Samberg.
I still
Yeah.
haven't seen that movie yet.
Dude, oh my god,
Koopa.
I know I'm the worst.
It's my favorite movie of 2020.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
It's also like you're still gonna really enjoy it, but it was literally like it came out at the perfect time, like during the lockdown. It's like so
Go in blind. If you haven't seen anything about it, go in blind if you can.
yeah. just watch
I
it
know
without
nothing
knowing
about it, so
Good.
Go in
good.
blind. Just
Yeah.
go in blind. It's a date night for you and Caitlin.
Yeah.
Just pop on Hulu and go to Palm Springs, and you're in for a ride.
It's so
excellent.
90 minutes. You're in. You're
It's
out.
yeah,
Really
easy watch.
I'm a fan of that.
Good as hell.
Yeah,
Extremely
it's-
dense.
Let me see. Are there any other episodes here that are stand out to me? I thought the origin story of Hitchcock and Scully was funny. Like I like that.
I thought it was
Yeah,
fun.
I thought it jumped the shark a little bit there.
Oh, Vanessa Bayer as Debbie.
Oh,
She was so
Yeah.
good. Like the one who was like desperately trying to do well, but she ended up being a
that
psychopath.
was really good. Yeah,
Yeah.
I forgot about
Vanessa
that.
Bayer is also just great. I love Vanessa Bayer.
Yeah,
So.
that was a good time.
So big.
Catherine Hahn also guest starred in
Consider
the episode.
yourself sued.
Oh, what was Catherine Hahn?
She was
What doing?
it was the episode where I think Boyle has to get his sperm back, but it's like in possession of his ex-wife. And Catherine Hahn plays
What a good show.
Catherine
Yeah.
Hahn plays his ex-wife.
Oh yeah, that
Yeah.
rules.
She's
That
so
rules.
funny.
Catherine
I'm a
Hahn.
fan.
So glad she's finally getting the fame and recognition she deserves.
Yeah, shout out to
I think-
WandaVision.
Man, just in time for this podcast, but I think I want to eventually do a Brooklyn Nine-Nine rewatch. Just for the
I think I'm gonna pick and choose some episodes tonight to get ready for bed.
nice. There you go. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it sounds like we feel pretty similarly about the show. It's solid. It's all around a good time. Like I think it ultimately positive feelings for me. Like I really enjoy it, but it doesn't quite break into my threshold of all timers. But I'm happy it exists.
Yeah.
And if it's something that if the listeners haven't checked it out yet, I do think it's something worth adding to your watch list. And it's something you can kind of take, like you could binge it if you wanted, but honestly, I think it's fun to just kind of like what Sean said, before you go to bed, just watch a couple episodes. Kyle, you were saying the same thing. It's a really nice thing to just like turn your brain off to before you wrap up the day.
Yeah.
And it's nice. It's a nice, it's a good time.
Yeah. I think there's, like I mentioned at the top, all seasons of the show are on Hulu. It's in my Mount Rushmore with an asterisk for now. There's still a lot of like the big tentpole sitcoms that I haven't seen yet. I still haven't seen 30 Rock.
Frasier.
I've seen like 3 episodes.
I haven't seen Frasier either.
Yeah.
Frasier.
I know. I should watch
Yeah.
Frasier.
I've never.
Cam, I think you'd really.
Well,
dig it.
I think I've already decided that my next sitcom watch is going to be 30 Rock because
Hell,
Yeah,
I've
yes.
never seen it. 30 Rock. I might
So
watch
it's
that at some
30
point.
Rock. I'll go ahead and say this. When it comes down to like the big four of NBC, 30 Rock, Office, Parks and Rec, Community.
and they literally all aired like at the
Yeah,
Yeah.
Thursday nights. It was a
It's-
dream. It is a race for second place when it comes to funniest because 30 Rock has that with a fucking stranglehold.
Here-
No one comes close to 30 Rock. with
Here's
30
my
Rock.
thing with 30 Rock was I gave it a shot like years ago, but I
Mhm.
watched, and it was a very similar problem that I had with Parks and Rec was I watched all season 1 of 30 Rock and I was like, that was fine. I don't really feel like I didn't feel
Yeah.
like watching it anymore. And then what kind of made me recently reconsider that is Connor was watching it in the living room, and I would catch myself like getting hooked in. I just like sit down on the couch and watch episodes with him, and I'm like, wait, this is really good. It's
Yeah.
really, really funny. So I think I'm just gonna I'll rewatch season 1 because I'm a purist. I watch everything from start to finish.
Yeah, no, you should.
So I'm gonna do that, and then just have I think like once I get past that initial barrier, I'm gonna have a good time. Because Parks and Rec, I will say, like, I know a lot of people who like love Parks and Rec to death. I think I like Brooklyn Nine-Nine more than Parks and Rec, if I'm being honest.
Wow.
Mostly because I think Parks and Rec season 1 is like awful, like really
it's
bad. And it takes like season 2, like it kind of it redeems itself pretty quickly, and it starts finding its footing. But Parks and Rec just never really hit up, like, similar to how Brooklyn Nine-Nine never like hits like super high peaks, but like it's really solid and good. Parks and Rec for me never, like, maybe occasionally there's definitely standout episodes, and I think it's a really good show. But it's not in my Mount Rushmore of sitcoms, and I think I have like a closer attachment to Brooklyn Nine-Nine than I do Parks and Rec. Maybe it's because I only watched Parks and Rec after it was done, so I binged it because I finally was able to power through season 1. But Brooklyn Nine-Nine was just like, I just had a good time from start to finish, and it kind of left a better impression on me than Parks and Rec. And I thought the ending of Parks and Rec was also like, I don't know, definitely better than Brooklyn Nine-Nine ending, but
yes.
Yeah.
As someone that had recently binge watched both, I binge watched Parks and Rec over the past year as well. I agree. I think I like Brooklyn Nine-Nine at its highs more. And again, like, I feel like it's just a lot of the humor in these like older-ish sitcoms, like you said, don't really age well. Like,
don't call them old.
That's why I say old with like an asterisk, because like you said, like, you know, the outview of how people view the police changes drastically in, you know, throughout the run of Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and a lot of the humor that's used in Parks and Rec, you know, the character of Tom definitely has not aged well in you know, modern times. So there's a lot, but again, you know, you kind of have to take it for what it is, I guess. I'm not really sure how, you know, to skew people's views on that, but I think I agree. Where Parks and Rec was very funny, you know, a lot of the time, I definitely enjoyed it a lot. I definitely think Brooklyn Nine-Nine and, you know, shows like Community definitely make like a bigger impact on me personally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the next sitcom I'm trying to tackle, as far as like the big ones go, I think I'm going to try to tackle Cheers next.
There you go.
Oh, that's a huge one, because I love Frasier. Frasier's in my top 4, undeniably.
Nice.
And I kind of want to see Frasier Origins, which is just Cheers.
Hell yeah.
Also, like, peak Simpsons is untouchable, but it's hard to like put Simpsons on there because it's just a behemoth.
Oh yeah,
now.
Simpsons is also
But,
like, I've been really
like,
wanting to like start Simpsons.
I don't think there's a better 10-season run of any show than The Simpsons. The first 10 seasons, it's like there's no one comes close as far as like a 10-season consistent run. Simpsons is like nothing but peaks for like at least seasons like 3 through 8. It's nothing but peaks. It's crazy.
Yep. No, I agree.
I also like, I brought up SpongeBob earlier, but I'm like actually serious about it. Like
Yeah.
I think those like those 3 seasons of SpongeBob are just like so like, I feel like it kind of gets like, it gets like kind of put aside because it's a cartoon and it doesn't hit the 30-minute like runtime of like most sitcoms per episode. But if you like, and I know meme culture is kind of like, I feel like people take it for granted because of how often SpongeBob is memed, but like SpongeBob is truly universal in its humor, and I feel like it was doing something that like no other cartoon, like in terms of just pure comedy, very few cartoons come even close, I think, to just like the jokes per second of SpongeBob, and just like how tightly written the comedy is. Because like some of my favorite cartoons of all time, like I still kind of like, I don't think they touch SpongeBob. It's tough.
Yeah. I mean, you just look at those first 3 seasons of SpongeBob, like you mentioned. It's like the foundation for like so many, just, you know, in a it just gets to that point in a conversation sometimes where you just start like quoting SpongeBob one-liners and you just can't stop. It's like it's a disease. Like, the show at its peak is just, you know, is so funny. But I agree. It's like you start getting into, you know, is a calzone a sandwich? Is a, you know, is is a hot dog a sandwich type situation with that. I think let me try to think. Out of the sitcoms I watched again a lot of sitcoms over the past year. Brooklyn Nine-Nine is definitely up there. Another one I'll give a shout out to, and I want to go back and finish it because I haven't gotten a chance to. Is Aquafina is Nora from Queens.
Haven't even
Yeah,
I liked
seen
it.
that.
I think Aquafina's funny. You know,
Cool.
it was a good show. It was fun.
Nice.
That's good.
Yeah.
Good for Aquafina. Come on the
Yeah.
pod.
That'll be a big get.
Nah.
Does
also-
anyone here have Seinfeld in their top 4?
I've actually never seen
I
Seinfeld
don't
all
think
the
I
way
do.
through. I've seen
Man.
I've seen a lot of the big episodes of Seinfeld, but I've never seen it all the way from start to finish.
You know what? I don't know if it's in my top 4, but I know I rank this show above Seinfeld. I really love Malcolm in the Middle.
Oh, it's
That-
so good.
I think Malcolm.
That's a blind spot for
I
me.
think-
I need to watch
Yeah,
that.
no, Malcolm's a great time. I heard someone once say it's the closest thing you'll get to like a live action Simpsons, but it's also just like a very fun it's a fun show to watch. I think there's like some amazing comedy and like some really smart writing.
Yeah.
And a lot of those writers went on to work on other big shows like The Office and Parks and Rec and like so many other stuff. But like a lot of them got their start on Malcolm.
Yeah. I'm not.
So I really,
Oh, sorry.
I love that show. I'm trying to think of other I'm not going to start gushing about it now. Again, we're an hour and 10 into the son of a bitch. But King of the Hill, I cannot stress enough, is one of the finest American creations.
I do think King of the Hill is like a nearly perfect TV show. It's
amazing.
in my top 4. It might be.
The true finale of
Yeah.
that show is like you cannot end a show that lasted 12 seasons better than what was supposed to be the finale of King of the Hill. They end up airing 1 or 2 extra episodes on Adult Swim, but it ends with like Hank and Bobby grilling, and like you could not have ended that show in a better fashion. It's just such a beautiful, touching way to end the series.
Yeah.
King of the Hill rules. I love that fucking show.
Yeah, I agree. It's a great show.
It's legendary.
It also it got better with age.
Oh yeah.
It holds up surprisingly.
I
yeah.
agree. I mentioned, my girlfriend, she loves those adult animated television shows. She loves The Simpsons. She loves Bob's Burgers. We recently watched The Great North, which is another one of those
I started that one.
I liked it. It was very funny from what I've seen so far. I think we never got around to finishing it, but it was funny. She'd never seen King of the Hill before, and
Wow.
it took her a while to get into it, but then we got to the Boggle episode, and my girlfriend loves Boggle.
Oh,
She was like, "Yeah, the show."
King of the Hill is. It's ultimately a show about Hank Hill having to confront masculinity in many different ways. Both through like a son that's not being super macho and his wife. And honestly, if anyone says that they hate Peggy Hill, they can kiss my.
Oh yeah, she's such a good character.
Peggy Hill is so funny. My favorite quirk that they ever give Peggy Hill is that she will state facts as her opinion.
Yeah.
Like she'll say, in my opinion, the best way to start a fire is with kindling. And that's just how you start a fire. It rules.
My friend who grew up in Texas, I was talking to her about King of the Hill. She's like, King of the Hill is literally just a documentary.
It makes me so happy. That show's incredible. I fucking love it.
That's my purse.
She's like, I don't even know if it counts as a comedy. This is just what living in Texas is like.
Yeah.
It's the best.
And that's part of what's so good.
It's
so sincere, and it's so the humor is in the reality of it. It's so dry.
And knowing the character, there was 10 different Dale lines just came to my head. I wanted to say all of them at once.
Pocket saying
The perfect crime.
The perfect crime is one of my favorites, which is just honey, we stole a news van. The perfect crime. How will they report it?
It's so fucking funny.
There's another one where it's Hank, I thought I knew you. We've been best friends since 3rd grade. When did this start? 2nd grade? So many simple jokes like that, and it's just such a beautiful fucking show. I honestly if you watch it, what was supposed to be the finale of that series is just they wrap up every character so well. And it's a show that I desperately would love to see get brought back for a reboot, but it's going to be nearly impossible considering that the actors that played Luann and Lucky are both dead.
Yeah.
But no, it's just King of the Hill. It's gotten so much better with age, and it's so good.
I think one of my favorite.
And
go ahead. I'm sorry.
I remember I came to terms with it recently. It's my number one. It's King of the Hill's my number one.
I think one of my favorite episodes is when I think Bobby and Hank accidentally make meth for the science fair.
Oh yeah. When Hank's fishing and he fishes with
meth.
That's what it was.
No, but you're thinking you conflated that with another one, which is just Connie's cousin comes into town and teaches.
That's
Bobby
what
how
it
to
was.
cook meth
Yeah.
before the science fair.
Okay.
Yeah, that's another good one.
It's a great show. So, hey, listen, I've always wanted to do like, I wanted to find an excuse to talk about sitcoms. I figured Brooklyn Nine-Nine was the best way to, give an ode to a great show and, talk about some of our other favorite shows. So I'm glad that it eventually tangented off that way. So.
Yeah, tell you what, when you watch all A Good Place, bring us back for Good Place.
Let's do it.
We'll do an episode on that.
Yeah, I'm down for it. Well, I'm locking it in right now. Cooped up, locked in.
Get Jared on there too. I'll have a whole panel.
Yeah, we'll have the full Ooh La La podcast on here.
Talk about the fanciest shows to binge on your.
There's a lot of fancy elements to that show.
Yeah, it's true.
I'm here for it. But listen, I think that's probably a good place to stop. Any closing thoughts? Anything else you want to say about Brooklyn Nine-Nine before we wrap things up here and sitcoms in general?
Donate to your local bail fund.
Yes. ACAB.
Yeah, there we go. But that's gonna be it for this week's episode. Guys, thank you so much for joining me. Again, you both have been fantastic guests on your individual pods. Bringing you together was an easy decision for me. So I appreciate your guys' time for wanting to sit down and talk.
We're rocking out right now. You can't see it, but Sean and I are rocking out loud.
We're just jamming, man.
Yeah.
Any other shows you guys are watching you want to shout? Want to mention before we wrap things up?
I'd rather just plug our socials.
Yeah, just do that instead.
Got him.
Okay, gotcha, baby.
Bakugan on Crunchyroll.com.
Say less.
I've been watching Sex and the City recently. I can't recommend.
Nice.
I mean, it's pretty good, man. Sex and the City's funny. It's a funny show. You can follow me on Twitter at Captain Tony. You can request to follow me on Instagram. I'll see if I want you there or not.
Nice.
And follow me on Letterboxd at Frogmans. And of course, follow Ooh La La, Don't Mind If I Do on Twitter at Ooh La La Podcast, where I host it with my very, very handsome, one of my handsome co-hosts, Cameron Trevor.
Nice.
I'll pass it over to him now.
Wowie, wowie, wow. I'm Cam. You can follow me on Twitter at Camalange, Camalange. You can also follow me on twitch.tv, same name. I'm Camalange everywhere. And I don't know. I've just been busy, so I'm like, what do I have to plug? I'm a master ranked player in Pokemon Unite, so that's what.
I was gonna say, tweeted us if you want this business on Pokemon Unite, and let us get a 5 stacks. We have to deal with randos.
Yeah, there you go. So
I love that for you guys. And again, if you guys aren't feeling so inclined to follow me, I'm at Koopa NJ across platforms. That's Twitter, Twitch, and Instagram. At the time of me posting this, I'll be commentating at Super Smash Con Fall Fest.
Who are you commentating with?
I don't know yet. Actually, well, I do know.
Whoa.
I got the schedule and everything. I'm dusting it off, Cam. I'm commentating Smash Wii U this weekend.
You son of a bitch! Bring me back. Bring me back. It's the role I was born to do.
Hey. It'll be cool for you to like commentate pools and grand finals in the same match.
Yeah.
Honestly, man, I'm excited for it.
I commentated SmashCon once.
You did. That's all at the Koopa coaching tree. I got you a commentary job.
Are they doing the awards again this
I don't
year?
think. It's a much smaller event.
I give you award for cutest comment.
A lot of the candidates are canceled.
Oh, wait, but there's a problem with Smash players? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
we're just gonna...
Let's see if this makes it
gotta go. But that's gonna be it for our episode, folks. We'll catch you guys on the flip side. Again, follow the show at Koop'd Up Pod as well. Follow us across your favorite podcasting services. If you want to watch us on YouTube, we're also on Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. Think about it. If there's a podcast app in existence, we're on it. Probably.
Yeah. Yeah, baby.
And on that note, we landed that plane somehow. Thanks for everything.
Title of your sex tape.
Oh!
Yeah, we may do the whole podcast with that.
Wait.
That, I think.
Nice!
Yeah. Nice.
Cool.
Boy, I don't know if you had a catchphrase.
I think that was it.
Terry loves ending a podcast, that's for sure.
There you go. That's
all right, we got all the jokes out, guys. Have yourselves a good night. Take care. Bye-bye.
Toodles.
Did you guys know